She shared the digital version of our chapter, which hadn't appeared in here. But now I need to transfer our edits onto it, which I haven't done, even though I've had this for not quite a month, but Christmas and a lot of visitors came in between. But that, that would be very helpful. And let's see, I found it in, that's why I was so clever, because I found the old conference plan survey results, and then I realized, oh, they were right in the digital version of the plan. But anyway, I ran those off just because I thought people might be interested. And the actual survey itself, I was gonna, Sarah said I could request the student photo copy tonight, and I didn't have time to come down beforehand. That's kind of interesting to see what they did.
What was that? What was this?
This is from the previous plan, which actually the plan wasn't accepted till 2008 or so. And then this is an example of the kind of survey that we have to, or if we decide to go this way, have to put out. And you saw this one, which was Yeah.
Sensible.
Okay.
You know, it would be hopefully put we can use. And
Hi, how are you?
we can use maybe an email.
You can come on up to the
Yeah,
subject.
maybe I'll come up this way.
You guys, if we get a digital form of survey.
Yeah, what's going on? Sure.
Getting that to the people who know.
Let me get that. Just some sort of results.
I think I could, I did print out the survey.
These are something I did today. Alright, well, we'll get started, and I know Sherry said she might be a little late, so hopefully she'll be able to join us. And just for the recording, we did not have a quorum last month, so therefore we did not have any minutes. We just sort of workshopped. So tonight, I just wanted to briefly check in first if there are any questions or things that you need help with on chapters, and if you have any updates on where you're at with chapters, but then spend the majority of our time on the survey and some draft questions.
First of all, thank you for sending the digital form of our chapter.
Sure.
And then I've done a terrible job getting to work on it. The Christmas Eve there, but I'll keep going. And I think I'm correct in saying in doing tracking changes. So, okay, all right. And maybe after our survey, Sarah, I don't know how you want to do this, but I am having this, sort of wrestling with how we can move this thing forward with more oomph.
Yep.
And I feel that you're maxed out. So I'm
Just never maxed out.
She's not, I don't want to push her to the point of being maxed out, and I don't want to do the same for Aaron. But I, just am thinking about, should we be thinking about getting more citizens involved? Should the little mini committees be meeting more regularly and that sort of thing? And even in terms of talking about the survey, I'm feeling like I was thinking back at some of the Evan Rickards notes from the last time and sort of what surveys should do, and then in that book that Sylvia Most, I guess, and Evan wrote that is in the shared folder, which is a really good book about municipal planning, comprehensive planning, where he's sort of arguing it. There's no point in doing a survey until we have sort of identified some of the big problems, the issues in the town, and then we can say, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? But it's hard, like the previous survey, I thought was just so broadly kind of oriented toward demographics that it wasn't really getting us information we need about what people want.
Yeah, well, and I think for me, at least, it's a little bit chicken and egg in terms of, I view this initial survey as trying to get at what do people think are the major issues, good and bad.
Yeah.
And then you use the workshops and other things to dig into, okay, now that we've identified these things, where do we go from there?
And I love that place in the book where Rickard Most described that getting public input is sort of circular, and it should be done at different times in the spiral as we move forward. And maybe from listening to you now, maybe you're thinking, okay, start with a survey now, but then later when we feel we have a grasp on what the issues are, do it again. Because I feel like
certainly could.
The Comprehensive Plan Committee is sort of also charged with identifying some of the big problems. Like that's part of our volunteer work.
We also bring it to the table.
Yeah, bring it to the table.
What we already think.
Yeah, because we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't sort of tuned in to what some of those issues are. So I think we could also use the survey. Maybe it can accomplish both. It can solicit ideas, and it can also solicit ideas about specific issues that we recognize exist. and we want to get people's thoughts on it. So anyway,
Yes, I agree. And so I guess why don't we just, it's all right with you guys, why don't we just dive into this? So
yeah,
I had hoped to get this done earlier and send it up to you beforehand to look at. But so what I did here is I took a look at the old survey, which I have other copies if anybody wants to. Yeah, okay, no,
yeah, I've got what you actually said.
and then you all see, so old survey meaning the one from 2 years ago / a year ago.
Yeah.
So looking at
old draft.
that, looking at the questions that the Bath Comprehensive Plan used, because I think we're feeling like that's a decent model and a more clear model to use in terms of what they did for the process and the format and everything. And thanks to Carla for finding that one. And we did receive confirmation from Emily at Lincoln County Regional Planning that that format, even though slightly different from the state, is acceptable. They have accepted it. So, and then also Erin had given me one from Windsor, Connecticut that was a fair amount different, which was good, different than the 21 one. So I tried to integrate both of those. This is definitely not final draft in any way, but in terms of my thinking, I put which section they would be, and we can label this or not, but this is more for just our purposes of discussion. Some demographic information, but far less than what was on the 21 survey. I think this is what you were getting at, and that there was just a ton of demographic stuff, and I'm just not sure why that's that helpful, / some of that we can get from the census or the American Community Survey anyway. So I cut those down quite a bit. And then I kind of divided between current Wiscasset and future Wiscasset, which it's fine if that's not the right way to do it, but,
Oh, that's an issue, that's big.
Yeah, like,
with sort of a beginning of questions about what life is like right now. And then in terms of the types of questions, hey Sharon.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. You can do a comfy chair if you want.
Oh, okay, I will.
Sherry, we basically just got started. I was just saying, this is my attempt today at putting together questions from the 21 survey that was completed by some people. Another good sample from Erin and the Bath Comprehensive Plan that I was just done. So, and I was just saying, I've really cut down the demographic questions, and then so getting into current Wiscasset and future Wiscasset, you'll see that this is a little hard to see it in terms of the spreadsheet, but some of the questions are on a scale of somewhat agree to strongly disagree. And I was trying to incorporate some of the things in the chapters in terms of, like, for example, Peter, preserving historic buildings and places in town is important to me. Getting a sense of, do people strongly agree with that, neutral, whatever. Same thing with climate change and sea level rise, natural resources, development of the, so to your point, Ann, earlier about we know some of the issues that are big, I did put some of those in there in terms of some sort of opinion on the waterfront, whether people care about it or not.
Yeah.
And so, and then I did put in education in here, and I'm very open to whether this should be in here or not. I think Wiscasset should explore a regional high school option. Strongly agree to strongly disagree. In the hopes that we could use this as part of that question of, do people actually think that or not?
Yeah, good one.
And then if they do, that can be part of our education process for this. You know, and some of these I don't feel strongly about at all in terms of whether we keep them or not, or we could reword them, but. So then getting into future Wiscasset, you'll see the last few here are open-ended. And from a research perspective, I could argue both ways. One, that they're not as helpful if they're open-ended questions, and then you've got to code them basically on key themes and whatever, which we can do. But on the other hand, my hope for this is to not lead people, but prompt people to think about what's important to them. And I think you can only do that to some degree with questions that have only specific answers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to gather, it will mean more work for us, but I think it's interesting to allow people to express, at least in one or two places.
Can you add one on affordable housing? Do you think housing is affordable? Do you have it in your minds?
It's in here a couple times actually, so, on the second page on Wiscasset should ... check all that apply, be more vibrant, be more affordable to live in for all income levels, so it's there, and then I think I had it, oh, and then on current Wiscasset, what is the biggest threat to the quality of life in Wiscasset? Lack of housing.
Okay, and I wasn't reading.
So I'm sure I'm missing some things, but I tried to incorporate a bunch of the different chapters, in terms of getting at issues, and then there's probably a better way to word this, but I feel like this is a super important question. The longest one there on the second page, Wisconsin has many services and departments that are supported at least in part by property taxes, including police, fire, public works, and EMS, as well as the community center and our school system. If you believe taxes are too high, which services or departments would you like to see eliminated, contracted out, or otherwise reduced?
I don't like that, I'm sorry. As a former town manager, that's way too open-ended. I think we need to nail it down a little bit with a more precise. I have to think about that. That's gonna be a hit job for some department. It's fair.
That's
That's just my take.
I don't disagree that it might be a hit job, but I think that's actually necessary. In a sense, so my biggest frustration when people say taxes are too high here is that we then go to the vote and people vote for every single budget line.
Yeah, so you're sort of wanting to prompt them to say, okay, think
So-
about this.
Right.
If you want lower taxes, what are you willing to give up?
So I'm sure there's a better way to word it.
Yeah.
But I do want them to be pretty brutal in terms of, I don't want full-time EMS, I don't want the community center, I don't want whatever.
Because this is just information for us, this
Yeah.
isn't something
No,
that's
no.
gonna
See,
necessarily.
that's the thing, I don't wanna say, cause somebody's gonna hang their hat, somebody will run for selectman and say, well, the survey said, well, the survey said, we're gonna, a lot of people wanna eliminate the EMS department. And then then that's what's gonna happen, they're gonna eliminate the EMS department, but what's the survey ratio, you know what I mean, like how many people actually got it?
Yeah.
25 people fill out this single survey. I mean, I'm not just being, okay. And that's what I'm concerned about is, the narrowness. So I mean, maybe we should say something like, which departments are we? I have to really think about this, but.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Maybe rate each department, the
Yeah.
importance of each department.
so the only problem with that is that's kind of what the old one did, and it wasn't very helpful, and it was really long.
Well, this is the first cut. I mean, if you're.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have another survey down the line, after getting some of this initial stuff that might not be as precise, you can tease it out again, or, even into.
I think your basic point is that the people who are looking at this, and as many as we can get to look at it, have to realize that if they want lower taxes, something has to go. And I'm not sure that a lot of them have even thought about that.
Right.
So
We're not being recorded, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, yeah. Just curious.
I mean, unless you have a big change like Maniac here, or Ringy, but I mean, or all of the other things are in practice, but status, everything else held equal. You cannot lower taxes unless you do something different.
Yeah.
So,
I guess what I'm saying though is, yeah, I agree with you on that sentiment, but you can lower taxes, but I just don't want that to be the only option. Like, cause I'm just afraid that somebody will focus in on just elimination of a
One
service.
specific.
Yeah, service.
It's happened before.
Yeah, I know. And I worked in another town, that's what happened. It was a police department and highway department, and that's what they I had selectmen that ran on that, and it was just, I don't get too detailed into it, but that it became a nightmare for both the public employees and.
Will this survey be going out to all voters? Is that the plan? And then it's just whoever.
More than all
responds to
voters,
it?
anyone who wants to fill it out, so if you're a business owner, but you don't live here, you can fill it out.
Yeah.
Or if you're a part-time resident or whatever.
I was just looking at the, we're not bound on this at all, but the 2004 survey had a question on public services and improvements, and the wording was, please rate your overall satisfaction with each of the following public services. There's a list of about 15. In the last two columns, please indicate whether you would support spending additional money to improve the services. That's like a positive spin on, does that address anything?
I kind of like that wording there.
It's a little less, maybe, like, doesn't invite punitive.
Yeah, and because it's asking people if they're satisfied with the service.
Yeah.
So if they're not satisfied with it, then, well, right?
Yeah.
And then it's asking, if.
Are they willing to spend more?
More.
Yeah.
I think that's better than this one. This is the 2021,
Yeah.
where it was, you can see it's a page and a half list. For each of the town services / departments below, please indicate what you think the value of that service / department is to the town at its current level. High, low, medium, not sure, or no opinion. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's difficult.
And this list can also be, like, Public Works is in like 6 different ways.
Did it have an open-ended question, and then if you had dissatisfaction, please explain
No,
or anything?
But I'm thinking combination of that and this might get to your point and get to,
Yeah, to your point, yeah.
yeah.
This is
This was the 2004, and I didn't get down here in time to copy the actual survey, but these are the results. So if you can work backwards or I can, I just thought because we're talking about this one question right now, is question 23.
Sarah, it just isn't a Windsor survey. Tax dollars are used towards worthwhile project services and programs. That's what they did.
Yes.
Strongly agreed, somewhat agreed, uncertain, somewhat disagreed. It's kind of weird.
It seems very
Yes.
too open,
But that one to me is too general.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna put something down or you're not, it depends how much work you wanna do, interpreting the results. Because often if you disagree, give them space to say why, what is it more specific. But that requires more work and.
Okay, well, then we can build off, and find out why they, well, maybe we can ask them then why. The next question is, after that is why.
That's what's down there.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you want them to elaborate what the feeling is, what it is now, be consistent with this, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there is,
And how did you guys deal with these? I mean, did you just tally it, or did it shape what you did in the comprehensive plan?
I think it was a guide, and we included it in the comprehensive plan, the results. And I don't, this is not a perfect survey either, but it was just an instrument for us to try to kind of take a temperature of what people felt at that time. I think Aaron's reason are really, the political climate has changed, and I don't think that really crossed their mind then, that someone could pull this up and say, look, the survey says this, therefore, but that we might be in a different place now where we do have to be more cautious about that.
So you're saying you found the way that this one was done not helpful?
No, I'm saying the 21
Oh, and
version.
this was, what year was this? 2004. Oh, well, this one, I like how this.
Yeah, I
one's
like
done.
this a lot better
I
than
like
this. This
what's
is not.
underneath it too. Please tell us why you were dissatisfied with those services. You marked very dissatisfied. Which maybe gets, but I also understand what you were saying. You want people to, but maybe we can do that in a public forum. Just say, look,
Yeah,
think about the trade-offs. If you want lower taxes, think about what you're willing to give up, because there's no way to get lower taxes without sacrifices.
Well, just so you know, I mean, I can give you, this handout, but there's a federal and state mandate guide that MMA has. So a lot of these things that I'm associated here are actually mandated by law. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and that's one of the things that people don't understand. Yeah,
This list right here.
yes, it's on.
Yeah, basically, what are you thinking about, Aaron? How about road signs? Is that?
Yeah, like-
I'm not sure about the road signs, but, I think we need snow removal,
Street lighting,
issue lighting,
sidewalks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Public water, sewer, in terms of like hydrants and things like
But we
that.
might have streetlights that aren't the bulb, the lighting
So,
changed or something.
Yeah.
But like, with some of the stuff though, I think, I don't think we need to drill down maybe on all of them. I can think we could be more general to say like public works, fire, EMS, police, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can, like, you can pull out transfer station, that's, I think everybody would agree that's a different piece, even though it's technically public works, but,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The waterfront, you know.
I was gonna say that's one of the things that I think is just too much on the 21 survey, they've got road signs.
I
sidewalk
like this,
lighting.
because this allows them to say, we're spending too much money, or I think we
Yes.
should spend more money.
And helpful to put together the, I'm satisfied, but I don't want to spend more money, or I'm satisfied, and
Right,
Yeah.
I want to spend additional.
right.
Or the opposite.
But I do think it's kind of goofy. We're gonna stop putting signs on the road, I mean, because of the survey. Or stop plowing the road.
I guess I would advocate that we use more of this version, but take off some of these.
Yes,
like,
also, I think it's all.
So this to me, a comprehensive plan is not about road signs, must have had some major issue first,
I think
don't
there
know.
was an issue then, I think it was kind of spurred by.
I can tell you about.
Okay.
Another is a story, there's always a story.
But, for example, if, this is theoretical, if Public Works gets a dissatisfied, then that's something we would dig into in a workshop.
Right.
And maybe it's street light, I mean, it's probably not, because we have ones that are saving us money now,
Yeah,
but,
but no, I think you're right, like, street lighting might be mandated, but maybe people are feeling really, that it's not adequate enough, or there's too much of it, or whatever, I mean, I'm just thinking of one.
Yeah.
But I think that it would at least be a flag to us, we probably should workshop this with some citizens and get their input on it.
okay, so that makes sense, so. So for that
When
question,
are you hoping the survey goes in?
I don't know, February. See, why not?
Does
I
that
don't
go
know,
by
I still
mail?
We'll do all forms, so have,
Email,
have a link and,
website.
yeah, we'll do the text one, we'll put it on the website, Facebook, copies, various places.
But that means, because this is January, that that we'll need to have some deadlines for like final wording.
Yes.
I really appreciate what you've done here, it really helps move it forward. Thank you.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking was we do an initial look through, tonight, and then I can make the edits we talked about, and then I'll send it out via email. And then anybody who wasn't here and all of us can take another look, and then finalize at our next meeting.
That sounds great.
Can we somehow publicize the fact that the survey is available
Oh, yeah,
through the papers, newspapers?
we'll publicize the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, all channels, including the paper, the website, social media. We actually we could even do a mailing. Not that we would mail the whole paper survey, but we could do a postcard
Saying.
that says,
Here or
pick
there.
it up in the town office, or here's the web link, or
Do it
QR code, or whatever.
I think they mentioned last time, half the businesses are closed now. And, probably, as you know, half of the people down in the village are gone for a while. So it's kind of hard to get an accurate picture unless there are websites or email trees that people can use to reach people who aren't in town right now.
Yeah, and my thought was to like ask the chamber to send it out, ask Friends of West Catholic, the Creative Alliance, all the groups in town to just send it out,
Yeah, great.
far and wide.
One of the growing problems, which has been true, partly our demographics, is people keep complaining, including myself, can't get anybody to help me, can't get help in my house, can't get direct care workers. Do we want to ask a question like that? Like, it affects everybody's quality of life, or many people's quality of life.
And what are you thinking for the type of question?
I don't know, I have to think about it.
Is it sort of like the availability of skilled labor? Or?
It's not just skilled, it's a lot of it, it's not unskilled labor, but people either, we're aging, so
Yeah.
we're aging out of, a pool of workers.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
it's also skilled workers, and
Yeah.
many more
Yeah.
shops are closed more than they used to be, or
Yeah.
restaurants are.
Yeah,
There are a number of towns that work with the high school and get kids after school.
Yeah, so whether you could put an exploratory question like that in here to say, is this an issue for you? Lack of help in town? And then you could list a couple of different ways that it's a lack of help, whether it's your store, your business, and anybody to help my mother, that kind of thing.
I hadn't actually thought of that, Carla, but I think that's a great question. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, a lot of
I've
us,
experienced it.
and then we pay through the nose, but that's what happens when you have a labor shortage.
Yeah.
Supply and demand, so, I mean, I can work on the question.
Yeah.
Maybe Aaron can help me on this, we talked about it a little bit too, in terms of the labor force issues for economic development.
You know, if there are programs through the school where some of the kids.
I've heard of that, I don't know who's doing it around here, but probably we can find out. Usually, a lot of it is, some of it is community service. that we
Yeah.
do Versus paid, employment.
Yeah.
I don't think
In
there is.
Wayne, we developed a program called Agent at Home.
I'm sorry.
Say that again.
In Wayne, we developed a program called Agent at Home. And we only had one position that was paid. It was a part-time position. It was like 12 to 15 hours a week. And it was like an outreach coordinator. And she basically coordinated all volunteer positions.
Wow.
And she also did a lot of the work herself. So basically, she was kind of like a social worker, but she basically coordinated rides, any kind of help that was needed for like people in town. If this person needed to go to the doctor, some groceries, some help cleaning, that kind of thing. And that's what she did. And
Other towns have that too. Lupe has a navigator, and they have churches doing the transportation. I think one of their programs serves here as well. But I mean, the aging issue is just it is exploding, and it's going to get even worse. So I think questions like the angle you're taking, as well as my talking about workforce issues.
yeah, we got a lot of money too from ARP for that.
Yeah. And we'll need more of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, I mean, I'm happy to think about working on a question around different angles of the workforce issue,
I think that would make sense.
as well as any services, which is what Aaron's talking about.
And we developed a little senior center in the basement of the church too. And so we also hired a counselor to do like grieving support groups, with people there to, they have little programs like music, arts
Who
and
funded
crafts.
it today, ARP funded?
Most of it was actually privately funded. And then, it was very small budget.
So you depend mostly on volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah.
Maybe have a lot of that great infrastructure already, like the senior center and and counseling services at the churches and stuff, but first of all, I applaud Wayne for doing that, that's fantastic. But I think what you're talking about even more is people to actually like rake lawns.
Yeah.
Take care of an old person who can't take a shower longer if they can't afford to have a,
Yeah,
That's what this group did.
they did outdoor work and carpentry and
Sounds like a whole range.
I mean, there are lots of
Yeah,
models.
so like,
Yeah.
for example, like if somebody like needed help, right?
Yeah.
They would call this woman,
This coordinator.
yeah, this coordinator, and they
Nice.
would say, now, the work necessarily wouldn't be free.
Yeah. But she would make the connection.
She would make the connection and help
That's
the
great.
other person.
There's a model like very popular 15 years ago called Villages. And we looked at it in different places around Maine. It's been done. I mean, you could put it on there as something that has to be explored for the future because we're only going to keep aging. And then the flip side, yeah, well, you know, but the flip side of that is what some young people want to move to town and they can't
Yeah.
afford. They can't
Yeah.
afford. There's not enough housing supply that's
Yeah.
affordable. So I think we have to look at both sides of, well, you're doing the demographic stuff. So
Yeah, and the housing, yeah, included.
Okay, so I think that makes sense to put the question addressing that under current discussion.
Yeah.
I'm glad I see you got some climate change stuff. At least I saw it in one place.
Yep.
Here, and I feel like that's
Are
important.
you on that committee? Are you on that committee?
No, I'm not.
Is
Yeah,
that hopefully moved up east of the
so I guess just, going to the demographics,
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything you think is missing here, sort of got age bracket, whether you have kids in the school and if they go to public school here, how long have you lived in Wiscasset? Where in Wiscasset do you live? So this is a question. So one of the confusing ones that we found, or one of the ones that we found was confusing for people was, when we asked that question on this one, there were 4 options, and if you were outside the historic village, it was very difficult to figure out where you lived.
They're just confused.
in the 2004 one, they actually included this visual.
Well, that was my other thought, is whether we should just have
Yeah,
a
they
map.
have a label northeast, with a boundary, northwest, south, village. I mean, we might want a very simple form, it's a little hard to read, but.
So it seems like we either need that or something simpler to identify, because this like 6-line
Yeah.
description with boundaries of
Too
roads
hard.
is.
I think that's too hard.
Well, I think we just need to figure out like what we're trying to get at, why do we need that? Like, why do we need that information?
I think it's really interesting, actually, Aaron, to see how people from different neighborhoods look at these problems differently.
No, I get that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of helpful in terms of just doing, having some public not hearings, but public workshops where we could get people from different parts of town to talk about, people.
Do we have like, I mean, I'm not sure, but like, I know sometimes like they have different sections of town, like, is there like North Wiscasset? I haven't ran across like that early on.
I mean, the old-time people here remember distinct neighborhood
Or some
names.
corner.
But I think that the blocks of northeast, northwest, south and down.
Most people don't know what they are, what they're.
It's
Yeah.
basically the village and the outskirts is the way I've always heard it.
Yeah, we should do a very simple map. Yeah, 4 areas, that's all.
I mean,
I
that makes
have
sense.
another one related to workforce, childcare. That is becoming
Yeah.
more and more important everywhere. And other towns like Damascus, Bath are aggressively developing childcare centers. And it's not easy. The money we did have during the pandemic was evaporated. But I mean, it's the workforce behind the workforce. And people will include that in their search for housing, or where they want to live, or proximity to it, both people in Wiscasset and elsewhere.
So what if we did a question that was something like, what are the biggest challenges you face right now? And you could include things like the lack of affordable
Yes, that would be
childcare, the lack of services, or whatever, however you want to word the unskilled,
Yeah.
what we were just talking about. Because I'm just thinking,
Services for my elderly parent, you know.
Right, and you list a bunch of those and people can check on more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we can get an overall, and then we could dig in workshops or other ways.
Yeah.
Is it better, I don't know about survey language, is it better to say, you said, what are the biggest challenges? Should we flip it around and say, what do you think? I want to be able to say, you know, what do you think is working well now and what isn't? But maybe that's a better way, simpler way to say, like, what are some of the biggest obstacles?
I think you have to sort of, give them some ideas.
Yeah.
And we would want to know that, though, these things are really important things
Yeah,
to know,
right.
versus waiting for them to maybe remember to include that in the survey.
Yeah.
Or do we want to say general, or do we want to say the biggest obstacles for work, for employment? So like, transportation, housing, childcare.
You
I
could
think it
separate
could be
it.
open-ended as long as you give them, you probe them with suggestions that are really important. And then at the end of it, you can always say other, and they can come up.
Yeah, that's true. So
That's the way I always do it.
Yeah.
Just as a general question, I like the way you divided this into demographics and current and future. The question I have is whether the demographic section should be first or third, or whether you just want the people just to get, to me, if I were reading this, what I want to know is current Wisconsin, future Wisconsin. And it's important to know the demographics, but I think if people are looking at this,
Yeah.
if we just get them right off the bat, first question, ooh,
That's a good point.
yeah, I think that's a good
what do
question.
you want to know about Wisconsin? What's a good way to start as opposed to?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
engages them and then at the end,
Right.
maybe they'll
And then hopefully they'll
keep going.
finish off the last one.
Yes.
What their age is or.
I think you could just find the chapter, the
Yeah.
first chapter.
But I actually have seen surveys with that where like you put it, at the end, you put in your email address and your whatever.
It's sort of micro stuff.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Just surveys, verbally, do the interviewer survey, I've often done it with, and you want them to trust you more, so you don't want all the demographic up front.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
And
Yeah, I like that too.
You know, and I think in terms of wording, I don't necessarily love negative questions, but at the same time, I guess I'm sort of looking at it as a little bit of a SWOT analysis, if you've ever done one of those, which includes opportunities and threats. So it's not in a bad way, it's just trying to identify all of the things. And then we see what we do with those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind them either. My biggest one that I was really concerned about was that open-ended and the way that was written with the
Yeah.
town service thing, because
Yeah.
I see
No, I
that
think that's smart, just
with
change that.
Dennis, even, I think he would probably have a show too. So.
Okay, so in terms of demographics, is there anything else that you feel like we should have in there? And I can, marking on, I can tell you what I did put from the 21.
You think it's.
How many? Oh, sorry. How many people in your household live in your household in each age bracket? Why do we need to know that? If we're already asking, do you have kids in school?
Yeah, I think that's sort of.
yeah, I think you can take that out. You don't want to give them any more before
Yeah.
you absolutely need to do.
So I didn't put that one in there, and then I didn't put, so I put in how long you lived in Wiscasset, but I didn't put in how long you worked in Wiscasset, either full-time or part-time. Oh, yes, I did.
Or a business, had a business.
Okay,
Is that
that's correct.
Is that
How about whether
important?
you're a full-time or part-time resident?
Right,
Yeah.
so it has that,
It does have that?
Yeah, that's.
yes.
Where is that one?
There's not.
Well, I kind of think they're working.
7 or 6 questions.
I think they're working.
Yeah, so I did include
This one.
that, I was asking about which on here, but I did.
Resident.
I would actually like to know if he
That's
is
a good one.
part-time or full-time, the difference of part-time versus full-time. resident.
So that is current employment status, check all that apply part-time, full-time, self-employed business, self-employed service provider. So that one is on there. Sorry, I should have numbered these, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down.
But I was saying,
And that's what I think you're a
if you're
full-time
part-time or full-time residents,
resident.
not whether they work here, full-time or part-time, just
The
whether
one
they.
thing I was thinking about,
Yeah, that's.
So the third question, how long have you lived in Wisconsin, either full-time or part-time? Maybe we need to
You need to separate
those.
so you know both of them.
So there might be a question.
Oh, wait, well, there's a check all, on the one that says check all that apply, it says, it's cut off there, I apologize.
Where's that say, oh,
I own and live in my home full-time, I own and live in my home 9 or fewer months a year, I rent a home, I live with friends and family.
Oh, that sounds good. Where are you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down.
Check all that apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I would actually like to know if people are doing Airbnbs in town. Is there another way to find that out or?
As a semi-permanent option.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting because there are a lot now.
yeah, there are. I don't know if they have to rent.
So separate from I rent a home?
Yeah, I'd like to know the different status and how
I
you're
think
using
that's
it.
an unfair question.
Yeah,
It's taking.
upstairs.
Yeah, that's
Or
where.
visitor. Usually,
Okay, yeah.
Can we just make this a little bit more vague? I rent the home, rather maybe just say I rent, because some people might rent a apartment or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I rent.
Okay, I didn't, that's why I didn't put house.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
see
that's
why you,
house.
yeah, I can see how you read that, yeah.
Residence, you could say, or rent a residence, or is that?
Or just, can we just say I rent?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Okay, and then do we wanna put in that I rent using a
What's
short-term
the name
service
for
such
those?
as
Yeah,
short-term rentals,
okay, yeah.
what they're legally defined as.
Airbnbs are short-term rentals.
Yes.
Are you trying to find out whether people, I'm sorry, I just wanted to see, are you trying to find out how many people own houses in Wisconsin that they offer to Airbnb, as Airbnb? Yeah, rather than the other way around.
Yes.
So we actually don't really need that because if the ordinance passes, everyone's gonna have to get a business license.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
We're so glad you're.
if the ordinance passes, everyone who has a short-term rental such as Airbnb or VRBO has to get a business license.
So we will find out how many people have them.
Yes.
but- Great, thank you for knowing that.
I can hear that.
Erin, you were gonna say something.
Well, I was just gonna say, the other side of it was like, we looked at, like, if you work here, if you live here, now if you visit here. So, like, maybe, like,
Like seasonal rental, I mean?
yeah, maybe, like, maybe she asked a question, something about, like, your seasonal, like, if you're a visitor, like, so how do you
You
visit
don't
here?
know, well, that would be part of like, except they may come and visit family, which.
Well, but actually, that makes me think of, should we have, I rent and live here full-time, and then I rent 9 months or fewer, so, because we have, I own, and I own, so shouldn't we have I rent and I rent?
Two parallel.
Oh,
Right.
Sure.
This is how insurance got along, because you want to make sure you're covering everything up.
Right.
Do we care where people come from, or no?
I think we don't wanna do that.
Or what they're doing. when they visit?
That would be wonderful information, but I don't know that.
Yeah. I was just,
Just one question
Lauren?
on the 9 months, you're looking to see how many snowbirds we have versus residents, right? Because I was wondering why it was 9 months instead of 6 months that you would have there. Because 6
Yeah.
months would make them a resident.
Did you say?
Yeah.
I did not pick the 9, I took that from the other one, so if we want to have it 6 months, which probably makes more sense because it's what, 6 months in a day?
It makes you.
This is your legal residence.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, that's interesting.
Yeah, it would be good to find that out.
Okay, so we'll do 6. And then let me see. Okay, so it sounds like we may try to do some sort of map for where you live in
It's a really
Wisconsin.
simple one, I think. Yeah.
And then, I did not put on what is your household income bracket? How do we feel about including that or not?
Now,
We're not
I
gonna
don't
do
believe
it.
it at all.
Yeah, how would we use it?
That was my question.
You're the economy chapter, I
believe
believe.
So how actually?
I mean, for somebody-
Stephen is.
Well, let me just say, you know, a lot more than I do. So, I mean, can you imagine that being useful? I can't because I don't.
I mean, some surveys, they ask it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a question of, this is lawn, yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
do we want to, it's always a question you put in there, what do you want to know it for?
I just,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do wonder that too, for the comprehensive plan. I would.
I mean, we can get this in it with all our comments and what the word Sarah's done,
Yeah.
and then take a look again whether we want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
I mean, it would be useful from an economic development standpoint.
It would,
Yeah.
okay.
And the other one too would be
But
like
you're gonna
education.
get the demographics for the town in terms of when it does that.
But you can get all that stuff in the census.
That's available, yeah.
But the income is.
Well,
Yeah,
income
is-
education.
But we don't know the people that are participating,
Yeah.
what their incomes are.
Right, that's gonna be a
Yeah.
fairly small sample size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we know it for that, if we can get the demographic data or the information from the census.
And then the other one I left off was, there was a question, where do you work / attend school? I check all that apply, town, Cassett, another mid-coast town, a city remotely. I felt like that was duplicating what we were already asking in a couple places / like, for me, when in 21, I would have checked both remotely,
Yeah.
was Cassett and another city, and I don't think that's helpful that because I was doing school and working.
Is this at the end?
This was number 9.
Do you think that was an attempt to understand how many, I mean, it would be kind of interesting, but we don't have any comparative data. To know how many people now work remotely.
Yeah.
Didn't in 2004, but there's no way to get at that, I guess.
Well, it probably is,
But you
but that I don't think is the question.
you wouldn't really know it from this unless you got a really comprehensive thing,
That's true.
that you got a lot of.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say a lot more people are working.
Yeah, I guess we know that,
I
so I
mean-
guess there's not that much more light to shed on it right now.
I don't want to muddy this too much, but on the current employment status, it is check all that apply, so we could add, I work remotely or semi-remotely.
Oh, yeah, well, you can do it there. Sure.
That was, that's,
This one?
this one current. Yeah, exactly.
That's all cool.
It might be interesting to know too how far you travel to work. Like,
Isn't a lot of that, isn't
Yeah,
that?
all this stuff is sensitive.
Probably travel less, but if they work remotely, then.
Even though this will be a small sample size, I do think the remote question could be helpful, just because that seems to be ever-changing and particularly has changed in the last 3 years.
Yeah, you could just say work remotely.
So I'll stick that one on the end. I'll try to format this in a better way so that.
For economic development, we do want to attract the remote workers.
Yeah.
Yes,
And one reason we wanted higher quality broadband, but,
And maybe that's a question, so, a broadband question would be like, you know, how do you use your high-speed internet?
yeah,
Your, video streaming, work,
I don't know if we need to.
education, contact with family and friends, things, video, distribution, gaming, things like that.
Well, what would we do with it? Because, I mean, right now, we've been over 3 years, how many years? Working on trying to get better broadband for the future. And, I'm not sure it would inform anything we're gonna do more than what we're trying to do.
Well, one of the things we did we turned up with a big goose egg too anyways, but we did a lot of survey work, and as part of that, we asked a lot of the same type of questions, like you said, and that was helpful.
Yeah, we did do a broadband survey.
Oh, you did?
A couple of them, one in 2019 and one, a couple of years ago. the one we just did was, much shorter. But, I mean, and then there have been surveys around digital equity, you know, of getting at who can afford this, who can use it. Do they have the devices to use it? That's a big effort by the Maine Connectivity Authority. They got lots of money for that. So I don't think we need to do that.
Okay, so I'll just add that I work remotely or semi-remotely on the current employment status. Okay, so I think, to Peter's suggestion, if we start out with the current Wiscasset, and then if we started out with what do you love most about Wiscasset, that's not a bad way to start it on a happy note. Start on a warm and family, right?
We know you love it here. Yeah. No, I just got stuck here.
Yeah, so one thing that would be super helpful is, if, when I send this back out, if you could spend some time looking at the possible answers.
Yeah.
Most of these I pulled from the surveys. A couple of them I added some, so like on the, what is the most important reason you live in Wiscasset and what's the most important reason you keep living? I added family is here, because I'm guessing that's a common answer for people,
Yeah,
that wasn't on us before. So if you wanna look through and think, okay, is there one that either sticks out that sounds inappropriate for any reason, or there's one missing that you feel like a lot of people would identify with, that would be helpful.
For questioning.
For any of the ones that have
Okay.
like multiple issues listed. Cause like some of them I took from the back one, and obviously we're not exactly the same as back, we do some similar stuff, but
Yeah.
and then on the ones that are the strongly agree to strongly disagree scale, are there different ways to word those? Are there ones that I'm missing that would be helpful in terms of the chapters? Or ones that you don't think should be in there? That's sort of what we're looking for in that piece, yeah?
And are you still on current Wiscasset or have you moved?
Yes.
Current, yeah.
The second one down, the second page, there are not enough community activities in Wiscasset. That's kind of negative.
Yeah,
So
so
we
yeah.
phrase it differently.
just say there are enough.
There are.
enough community activities.
There are.
They're asking a question. Are there?
No, you're making a statement,
Yeah.
and then this is under, they can say strongly agree to
Oh,
strongly
I see.
disagree.
Okay.
So we can easily switch that, and they can say disagree.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could parallel the construction below, you could just say, I'm satisfied with.
But what kind of activities too? I think we can spell that out, like recreational activities, like family activities, or.
Well, I've heard it from one friend who's a young person, a rare commodity in town. And it's like, no place to go at 9 o'clock at night. I think you've heard this.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at, oh, there's nothing to do here, which I don't subscribe to that, but I think there's a lot if you seek it out, but it would be nice to know if people still feel that way
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, the town rolls up the carpet at 9 a.m.
We'll
Why not?
not count January, since January literally.
Yeah. It used to be lively, but now Reds doesn't even stay open in the summer.
No, I know.
That's true.
Would we wanna know, I mean, because that is pretty vague activities. I mean, what type of activities would someone be looking for?
A bar that stays open, coffee shop.
I mean, that's great, but what about families? You know, I'm just looking at hitting every category.
So that's what you were saying, Erin, right? That you would like to see it.
Well, even
Categories
from,
for-
yeah, even from an economic development director standpoint, like, you know, if no one, people are really interested in like having more restaurants or, you know, like a bar or, you know, what kind of activities specifically, then if I had data, I could, you know, I could look at that and try and attract that, you know, and if I'm talking to a business, yeah, and then I'm talking to a business owner, I say, well, you know, just 300 people are saying that they want that, that might be helpful.
So
Sorry.
under the first future Wiscasset question, sort of addresses that, what's the one thing that would make Wiscasset a better place? They've got more restaurants, more shops.
Yeah.
So that was taken from fast. But I wonder, the other question that was interesting that Bath asked that I didn't put in here was, where does the community gather in Bath? And they have downtown, waterfront park, library, YMCA.
That's a neat question, actually. That is a good question.
And I don't know what we would use it for, but I wonder if that is at all useful instead of maybe this, there are not enough community activities?
Well,
So did they,
can we imagine where we kind of, the community centers one?
the post office?
Yeah, that's true.
The transfer station.
Yes,
Yeah.
the transfer station.
The library, there are some hotspots.
Yeah,
The common,
yeah. And the
Yeah.
schools, getting.
waterfront.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what we say, maybe we say, ask like questions like, do you think more sporting activities or like, outdoor activities, more youth activities or something like that, you know? More activities at the waterfront, you know, maybe different locations, more art related activities or more downtown activities.
So this, I'm thinking, this within the structure of comprehensive plan is really an economic question, I'm thinking, for you. I mean, for the rest of us, like, you're asking those questions because you're trying to think, how will I use this information to like build the economy in town?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, does that belong here? But it is, the economy is obviously part of this plan, so
Maybe what type of activities would you?
it could be an open-ended.
Yeah, I would do
No,
that.
but no, I wouldn't put it.
You don't, okay, you don't wanna say other, like, can you, what else would you be interested in if we?
Well, I think you should give them some options.
Yeah.
But we can also alter, so that same one that the future Wisconsin, the first one there, what's the one thing that would make Wisconsin a better place?
Yeah.
We could reword that if you want, but for example, like
Yeah, that's good.
they had Amtrak down Easter stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been discussed a number of times. I don't know if that should be one of the options, but we could also add a couple other options.
Just adding a couple other
Yeah, I
options.
think it's
is
like,
a good idea.
that had more playgrounds and outdoor gathering places.
Yeah.
Better bike connectivity and infrastructure.
Dog
Yeah.
park.
Would that, Aaron, would that meet your needs
Yeah.
enough?
So I'm actually working on another question, sorry. And, no, I'm gonna take out the Amtrak out of that, because I don't think that really fits in with that question. So, what do you think the priority for the economic development director, and it really gets down to it. But,
Oh, I see what you're doing.
yeah.
You were warning us about this before. I don't know, I
No,
wouldn't
but,
go there.
Okay, but what,
it,
finish your,
Amtrak, you know, like something like Amtrak, business friendly, you know, improve. I have to work on the language more, but, affordable housing. I was thinking something with the airport and something with the waterfront and something with downtown and, attract new businesses, and entertain new businesses. So I have to.
Just
my only concern with that is that I don't know if it's helpful if they just check off all of it. Because to some degree,
Yeah, you're right.
pretty much all of that sounds good.
Yeah.
Just do all of it.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah,
Don't raise it.
no, it's
Right.
already priorities, so I wonder, so they have to check.
But like something on Amtrak, I mean, how much of the Amtrak do we control? Do we,
Not that
Not
much.
much.
So to some degree, it's gonna happen or not, and
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, having the little railroad station or something, or parking makes any difference to them, if they're gonna go or not. And there are probably other things we could look at with that lens, how much can we really control?
right.
We can always, if it emerges that we think that's a great thing, we can make it a recommendation of the plan.
To lobby and.
Encourage.
Yeah, that we think that would be a great asset. We don't have, we're not bound by this survey, right? It's not saying you can only look at these questions, you can still think broadly.
And I do think it's okay to some degree to have a few in there that aren't 100% related to the chapters, if they're still helpful
Yeah.
towards overall goals that we might have.
Yeah.
We don't wanna get too far off track, but,
No,
Well, the amenities and the quality of life are certainly important.
exactly.
I agree, because you're trying to sort of find out what people are happy or unhappy about. Yeah, in general.
Okay, so, sounds like we need some different version of that. What's the one thing that would make Wisconsin a better place, and there are not or are enough community activities in Wisconsin? sounds like get rid of that question, but have, wrote that somehow into.
Then, of course, we get into budget questions and whether other private money can be attractive for some of the
Yeah.
investments.
Okay, so let's figure out a different way to do that one.
Yeah,
Well, you give the last 4 questions, you give people chances to hit 4 different areas that you've already discussed, that
yeah,
you've already broken it down for them, I should say.
Yeah. Well, and at least in the math one, I did find that even when they had other as an option or an open-ended,
yeah,
there were definitely a lot of similar answers that we can,
interesting.
so.
When you say open-ended, I'm trying to understand that. They're not asking just like like an essay question.
Yes,
Yeah, you can just put down whatever you think.
Well, if it's, it could be, it might not be a question, it might just be a category other, that would allow you to comment, give your opinion on things.
It's more work for,
there are
to code it, you know,
but I can do them. Yeah, so there are 2, so some of them have options and other, and then when I say open-ended, I mean, that's the only thing you do.
Yeah,
is
so-
open-ended. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's,
I'm not sure that's helpful though, because I mean, I guess it is sort of, but I mean, I think it could be. I think that's where when you have a public hearing or whatever, that's when.
well, it gives us some idea ahead of time. It's just, depending on how many responses we get, it could get cumbersome. Depending on it, but.
I guess I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
I was flexible.
yeah, I can just,
We'll read them, we'll spare you.
No, I don't.
you go
Cause I guess what I was hoping when I was writing those last 4 is that would get people thinking a little bit.
Yeah,
And particularly if there isn't something that they've already filled out.
Yeah.
that, oh, I would love, like, last time around, it was a pharmacy
yeah.
that a lot of people wanted, it wasn't necessarily a question.
Well, I think maybe that's what we should say, is what type of business wants to attract here, or what type of business is missing, or something like that.
But those
And
last,
then we actually say, like, give them options of what type of businesses.
so you mean you're thinking these last 4 or 5 questions, you wanna see, you wanna stir their imagination by giving them a specific list?
Maybe, or,
You could say such as in parentheses or something, such
Yeah, you
as,
can do that.
yeah,
to try to get people.
So like I did in the last one,
Oh, yeah, you
for example, community-wise, housing-wise, service department,
Yeah.
et cetera. But we could add that.
I guess you're right, I don't mind an open-ended question or something like that, I guess, what I'm just concerned about is, just don't want somebody to go rambling on, you know what I mean? Like, if it's just like a simple question, like a simple answer, like, you know, we want a pharmacy, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like, just like a very brief, short grades type of question.
There's certain ones that keep coming up. I mean, I gather there's a new pharmacy, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right when this guy's
Yeah.
coming out?
Yeah, our old office, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, if there are certain things that we've heard come up, like, I don't know how often place to go at 9 o'clock, or a pharmacy, or you could list a few of them and then say other.
I mean, and that's what Sarah's,
Yeah, and that's sort of what I'm making the argument that we do in some of the others,
yeah,
and then also have this open-ended,
I agree,
Okay,
because we don't know
yeah,
what we don't know.
Yeah.
right, I think that's
That's why
great.
we're doing this.
And I will volunteer to code.
I
know it can be cumbersome, and having a 3-page essay is not particularly helpful.
Well, this is why I'm concerned, okay, like, when somebody can write an anonymous thing, you know, it's like Facebook, kind of, people like get behind the computer and get like sort of superpower, and then kind of like, you know, they write.
They say, they wouldn't say they had to be accountable.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying. And
can
that's
we
what I'm.
control that? Oh, I don't think we can.
Really, you can on Facebook.
Well, and Aaron argument, I think, would be, you control that by not allowing
Open
huge open-ended questions, yeah.
Always gonna get those people who make those
Yeah.
questions open-ended. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Devil's advocate would be, there are also people who are very shy or wouldn't wanna come to a public meeting and say, I really need this, or I want this.
That's true.
Who would then fill this out? Because I totally agree with you on the first point, in terms of there are we are
Yeah.
certainly gonna get some angry ones or
Yeah.
ones that sort of just go off, but,
But there are also, I mean, certainly the digital world affirms what you're saying, Erin, but I also I love when people are passionate about something in town. It's not always negative. I mean, sometimes it's something, they just really realize they want to hear. And I don't mind if they write, a page about that, even if they could say it in 3 words.
No, I don't mind, I guess what I'm saying, I don't mind people write essays, I
Yeah.
just want to, again, I think the accountability.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just, whatever.
You know what, I think if we receive some that are then we throw them out. I mean, there's gotta be some ground rules for civility, and you can make those ground rules,
but that's also where the coding comes in.
Yeah.
If somebody's complaining about one issue, then they get coded for that issue.
Yeah, and they don't have to include all their horrible language if it doesn't.
No, right,
No,
exactly,
no.
it's, everybody gets counted, it doesn't mean we have to include your language.
Right.
Okay, so I don't wanna keep us here for too long. These are some great edits, so what I will do is I'll go back and I'll connect with you, Erin, too, because I know you said we have, what is it, Qualtrics or something, where we have to survey monkey?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll probably put it in Survey Monkey rather than Google Forms. But in any case, I will go through this.
Yeah, I'll tell them, we make charts and stuff.
Right, so that would be helpful. I will go through and make these edits and send back out, and so if you could take a look before the next meeting, and I'll give this instruction.
Will those be, are you gonna email those or are those gonna be in Google?
I can email.
Okay, good.
So it's
Because
just
I
easier.
haven't even since I'm just coming in late, I've looked over some of the documents and stuff, but not all.
Oh, there's a
Well,
lot.
that's scary. You have to look
Slacking.
over all 200 documents. I don't think any of us have done that. Okay.
But in terms of conveying, information, so if it's an email, I'm just thinking, how will people, should these be numbered maybe so people? can-
Yes, I'll put numbers on
Okay.
them next,
Yeah,
yeah.
some people can say, on question 7, I think you should do blah, blah.
I didn't think of it, it's not on my computer screen there, not when we print it out though.
That's
And then can I keep this?
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
definitely for you.
So I will,
And I didn't get down, I mean, do you have this? This is the original survey,
okay,
which is kind of interesting too. It's actually one that somebody filled out, that was
okay,
in my files.
can I borrow that?
You
And
can,
make
or
a
you
copy?
know what I'll do? I'll copy it for you and mail it to
Okay.
you.
Or,
Bye.
yeah, I have a box in the
Okay.
copier room, actually.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't get that.
Oh, no, that's fine. Do you need these back, though?
No, I mean, that's
Okay.
great. This one was just so long, I didn't do it at home, but I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to incorporate that and get a nice map on there too. And so if we can look over that, see if there's anything else that we talked about tonight that I didn't get in there, anything else that you thought of that we should put in there, or anything we need to take out. And then at our next meeting, we can do a final look through and approval, and then we'll get it out. That sounds good.
And the next meeting is February 14th is what you.
Oh, so
Do you wanna do it?
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, we can do it.
Oh, wow, that's.
Yeah, if, I know some people have plans on Valentine's Day,
Look at a week or one way or the other.
Or a different night.
so
We got a
we,
different night that week. Sarah probably doesn't have a different night.
well, actually, we were talking about this with committee chairs, Tuesdays are almost impossible in terms of everybody meets on Tuesdays. We're not, yeah, Thursdays are better, I don't know, Thursdays are good for any of you, but,
That's fine. You're talking about this time, February 15th?
yeah, the 15th.
So how many other people are on this committee that
So,
aren't here?
Steve Graham, Sean Rafter, and then I don't know if she's actually filled out the form, but Vanessa Jordan wanted to join.
Yeah, what, and how do we, how, if we think of someone who we think would be great on such and such, I direct them to a form online or? what?
So, I would say just contact Robin in
Okay.
Dennis's office.
Okay,
She has, I mean, we generally keep a list of vacancies on the website, but she's the one who
that's
keeps
the
track,
application.
yeah, and can send them an application. Okay, great,
Thank you.
you did. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. Just a sec, let me turn off the.
And here's another question, I could be on or off the recording, but, is there any hope, I'm sure there isn't, and you and I can slap my hand up. Is there any hope of getting more of Emily's help?
Yes,
I mean, do we have any money to spend?
oh yeah, we are contracted with them.
Okay.
But like, for example, she didn't come tonight because she wasn't gonna work on the survey with us
She did,
necessarily.
okay,
I mean, we might send it to her to look at, but,
yeah, okay.
and we'll need to clarify a little bit because she was just promoted
Is she now?
to director, yes. So I don't know if it might be someone else or not,
Yeah,
but
What
yeah.
do you want her to do? I mean, there's stuff that I can do with regard to this.
I know, I feel like she's probably so busy though.
Well, I am, but I mean, what I'm saying is, so, you know.
Ask you first,
I'm just
then,
asking, because this
To
is
get to the
part of my
writing
job.
part of this.
yeah.
So-
I mean, I'm just remembering the golden days when there was a planning consultant who held us all accountable and, you know, made sure we were getting our jobs done and helped draft, you know, help us with drafting the language and things like that. I mean, I'm just wondering whether Emily or you know.
I mean, I'm willing to help you guys. I mean, when I was in Wayne, I actually helped the, committee draft a whole comprehensive plan.
Yeah, okay, so I think my takeaway is that we should address first, I feel, to you, if we think of something specific that might help the committee at large.
Yeah.
And then if you say, I can't do that, talk up, then I can say, Sarah, could we bring this to Emily or to
Yeah.
her deputy or whatever. Okay, that's helpful, thank you.